Can somebody help me out, please?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sir, what's the problem that you're facing, sir?
Through laptop I have logged in, but it says
Sir.
Hello.
ಅದೇ ಸರ್ ಅದೇ
Hello, good morning. Doctor. Hello. Hello, good morning.
ಸರ್ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್.
ಯಾರು ಮಾತಾಡೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ.
ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್.
ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್. ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್. ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್.
ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್.
ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್.
Good
ಲೇಟ್
morning,
ಆಗುತ್ತಾ?
ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್.
ಸರ್ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಿದ್ದರಾಜ್.
ಸರ್ ರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ.
ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್.
ಹೇಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ?
ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್. ಶಿವಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಸರ್.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್. ಲೇಟಾ? 10 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ವಾ?
ಅದೇ ನಾನು ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಸಿಕ್ತಾ? ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ. ನೋಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕು.
Dr. Nandini, is all set? Dr. Nandini. Hello, host, Dr. Nandini.
Hello.
Good morning, Dr. Aradhya sir. Good morning, Shiv Prakash. No, some audio problem is there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Karthi.
Hello. Hello. Close ಆಯ್ತು ಸರ್, ಫುಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಸರ್. ಹಲೋ.
Hello.
ಎಸ್ ಸರ್, ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್. ಸರ್, ಆಮ್ ಐ ಆಡಿಬಲ್ ಸರ್?
Hello.
ಸರ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ? ಎಸ್ ಸರ್. ಸರ್ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್. So, another 5 minutes, sir, we shall start, sir.
ಹರ್ಷ, ಹಲೋ
ಚಿದಾನಂದ್
ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಹಾ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್. ಚಿದಾನಂದ್, ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಯು. 2 minutes ಚಿದಾನಂದ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಟ್ಸ್ 3 dots.
ಓಕೆ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ ಹಾಕಲ್ಲ, ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನ ಈಗ ರಿಪೇರಿ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದಿದೆಯಾ? ರಿಪೇರಿ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದಿದೆಯಾ? ಇರು, ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ.
ಸರ್
ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ನಾವು ಈ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ ನ, ಇಲ್ಲದಿದ್ರೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತು. ಅವ್ರಿಗಾಗತ್ತಮ್ಮ, ನಾವು ಶೇರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
So we'll start. Hello, Chairman. Hello.
ಹಲೋ,
Hello.
ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನನಗೆ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಲ್ಲ.
ಹಲೋ
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹೇಳಿ.
ನಾ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನು.
Hello.
ಮೈಕ್
Chidanand, can you hear me?
ಏನಾಗ್ತಿದೆ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ನಾವೇನಾದ್ರು ಕೋ ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾ, ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನು? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೈಕ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೇಳಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ.
ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಮೈಕ್ ಕೇಳಿ.
ಮೇಲ್ ಕಳ್ಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಹಲೋ,
ಚೇರ್ಮನ್ ಬೈನ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿ.
ಸರ್ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಸರ್? ಓಕೆ. ಚಿದಾನಂದ್, am I audible?
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೇಳಿ.
ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಚೇರ್ಮನ್ ಸರ್. ಹಲೋ.
ಹೇಳಿ. ಹಲೋ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿ ನಂದಿನಿ.
Good morning, one and all present for online. On behalf of Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology, I, Dr. Nandini Prasad KS, working as professor at Department of Information Science and Engineering, welcome everyone for National Symposium Online on National Education Policy 2020 and Technical Education, which is going to be from today, 19 December 2020. On this occasion, I request our chairman sir to light the lamp.
ಮಾತಾಡಿ
ಮೇಡಮ್. ಹಲೋ.
ಹಲೋ
ನಂದಿನಿ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
some problem
Yes,
was
Chidanand.
synchronization ನಿಮ್ಮ.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Chidanand?
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹೇಳಿ.
Yeah, Chidanand. I request chairman sir to light the lamp virtually.
ಓಕೆ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
Please share that light, lighting the lamp. Is it not possible, Chidanand?
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
Okay. Please share the screen.
No, your network is very slow, Dr. Nandini.
Yes.
Bandwidth is very poor.
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಆಯ್ತು.
No, we are not seeing anything. I think you can
Okay,
start.
we're not
I mean,
seeing-
because
Okay, we'll
some
start.
problem with the net.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Can you stop presenting, please? Chidanand, can you please stop presenting? Yeah. I request our respected principal, sir, Dr. C. Anjan Swami, sir, to welcome everybody.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ. ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ. ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಚೇರ್ಮನ್
One ನಿಮಿಷ.
ಶ್ರೀ ಎಸ್ ಮರಿಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಸರ್, honorable chief guest of today's program, Dr. S. Sachidanand, Vice Chancellor, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Bangalore, Dr. M. Mahadeva, Secretary, PPL Trust, Shri S. Shimallu sir, Treasurer, Panchajana Vidyapita Welfare Trust, Shri R. Krishnamurthy sir, Trustee, PPL Trust, Dr. B. N. Umesh, Trustee, PPL Trust, and Dr. N. C. Shivrakash sir, who is already joined for his session. On this occasion, I would like to welcome all of you for 3 days National Education Policy 2020 and Technical Education being organized by Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology, Bangalore. As we all know that Union Cabinet has approved National Education Policy 2020 on 29 July 2020. The new policy replaces the previous National Policy on Education 1986. The policy is a comprehensive framework for elementary to higher education as well as vocational training. The NEP 2020 policy aims to transform India's education system by 2021. The gist of the policy is education must thus move towards less content and more towards learning about how to learn, how to think critically and solve problems, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, and how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new material in novel and changing fields. While learning by rote can be beneficial in specific contexts, pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, discovery oriented, learner centered, discussion based, flexible, and of course, enjoyable. The curriculum must include basic arts, crafts, humanities, games, sports, and fitness, languages, literature, culture, and values, in addition to science and mathematics. To develop all aspects of learners' brain and to make education more well-rounded, useful, and fulfilling to the learner, education must build character, enable learners to be ethical, rational, compassionate, and caring, while at the same time prepare them for gainful, fulfilling employment. The framework consists of school education, higher education, other key areas of focus like adult education, promotion of Indian languages, arts, culture, technology use, and integration. The main theme of National Symposium, what you have proposed is on technical education. But a good part of the policy covers technical education, which includes degree and diploma programs in engineering, technology, management, architecture, town planning, pharmacy, hotel management, and catering technology. Many of these sectors are critical to India's overall development. This sector will continue to demand well qualified individuals for several decades. And hence, closer collaboration between industry and institutions to drive innovation and research will be actively encouraged. Since these domains will become part of multidisciplinary education, curricula must be renewed with a focus on opportunities to engage deeply with the field and be more inclusive of other disciplines. So on this occasion, I request all the participants to download Education Policy 2020, which is of 60 pages totally, to go through to understand everything. So in order to make ourselves aware, Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology has taken up this process of conducting national policy as a national symposium by inviting eminent educationalists. On this occasion, we have totally 6 sessions. Dr. N.C. Shivprakash, Professor IAS Bangalore, will teach on NEP 2020 role of technical institutions. Professor R. Natarajan, former chairman AICT and former director IIT, will highlight on NEP highlights and implementation strategies. Tomorrow, we have a great educationalist, Dr. A. Sitaram, Professor retired ISEC Bangalore, will speak on philosophy of NEP, special reference to technical education. And second session will be tomorrow, challenges in digital education for higher education under NEP by Dr. D.N. Reddy, Director AIMSCS, former Vice Chancellor JNTU Hyderabad and former Chairman DRDO RAC. The last day we have Professor D.K. Subramanian, former Dean and Professor IISc Bangalore. He will speak on digital innovations and new education transformations. Lastly, we have another important educationalist, Dr. B.P. Sharma, President Association of Indian Universities and Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Gurgaon. He will speak on holistic and multidisciplinary technical education in the digital age. On this occasion for the inaugural program, we have a well-known person, Dr. S. Chidanand. By profession, he is a doctor. Presently, is a Vice Chancellor, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Bangalore, since 2018, June. Dr. Sachidanand is a dermatologist. He has specialized in conditions related to hair, nails, skin, STD, and its diseases. Dr. Sachidanand holds MBBS degree from JNMC Belgaum, Karnataka University, DVD MMC from Mysore University, DHA from Vellore, MD from JNMC Belgaum, Karnataka University, FRCP from Glasgow University, England. Dr. Sachidanand has been a former director of medical education, Government of Karnataka, Bangalore, between September 2016 and August 2018. Former Dean cum Director, BMCRI, Bangalore, between February 2017, June 2018. Former Registrar Evaluation, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Karnataka, between 2017, 7 to 10, and January 2014 to August 2016. Former Professor and Head of the Department of Dermatology, STD and Leprosy at Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute, Bangalore. President of IADVL and Honorary General Secretary, President, South Asian Regional Association of Dermatologists, Vice President and Secretary General, President Association of Contagious Surgeon of India and Vice President, Founder President of Association Facial Aestheticians and Aesthetic Surgeons of India and Community Dermatology Society of India, pioneer in starting fellowships courses in dermatosurgery, aesthetic dermatology, pediatric dermatology, and trichology, published around 116 articles in index journals, conducted around 27 conferences, so far both national and international level, edited and authored nearly 20 books, and is the chief editor of 4th and 5th editions of esteemed IADVL textbook of dermatology. Edited and co-authored around 12 undergraduate and postgraduate books in dermatology. On this occasion, on behalf of Panchajana Vidyapita Welfare Trust and Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology, we wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, to be as the chief guest of the program. Thank you, sir. We have our beloved chairman, Sri Swami, who is inspiration for all the development of our institution, including academic and administrative activities. I wholeheartedly welcome him on this occasion to be the president of the program. I welcome you, sir. And we have with us Shri Shimalu, sir, Honorable Treasurer of Panchajana Vidyapita Welfare Trust. He is interested always in academic development and other activities of the institution. I welcome him wholeheartedly to be the guest of honor to this symposium. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Professor N. Shivaprakash, who is our mentor and well-wisher always to Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology. Soon after this inaugural program, we will have this session. We are eagerly waiting for you, sir.
ಸಾರಿ ಫೋನೇ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಯಾವತ್ತು ಬೇಕು ನಿಮಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗ
I have participants from different parts of the country. I welcome all of them.
ಮಂಗಳವಾರ ರೆಡಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ 2:30 22 2:30 okay ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
Request all of them to go through the entire 60 page of the policy, which covers from lower education to higher education, and what are the roles and responsibilities of each individual teacher, the management, teachers, parents, etc. So this is a great occasion for all of us to sit together and learn something about the framework of the policy. I welcome everybody, each and everybody, all the participants and so on. I would request Dr. Nandini Prasad to continue with the program. Thank you so much. Namaskar alrigu.
Thank you, sir, for addressing everybody. Now I request our chief guest, Dr. S. Sachidanand, sir, Vice Chancellor, RGUHS Bangalore, to share his screen and start the presentation, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah, I'm on the screen, but I'll 1 minute. I would like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Is my presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, very much.
It's visible, is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We can see it. But
Okay.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Good morning, one and all. It's my great pleasure to be here amongst you all for this symposium on national education policy and technical education. My heartfelt references to Dr. M. Mahadeva, Sri P.L. Ranjan Swami, Sri S. Shivamallu and Sri A. Krishnamurthy, Dr. B.N. Umesh, all the trustees of PWT, and my thanks to Dr. Siddharaj, Dr. C. Ranjan Swami, and the coordinators, Dr. Bharti and Dr. Nandini Prasad. Thanks for this opportunity. Well, all of us know that the roots of education are very bitter, but the fruit is very sweet. So said Aristotle, which means that we need to struggle to get education, but then once education is completed, the fruits are very sweet. The last policy on education, last education policy was implemented somewhere in 1986, and it has taken almost 34 years for us to come out with a new education policy. This national education policy is supposed to be a game changer, a flagship program of the present dispensation. And since this last 34 years, many changes have occurred globally. And that is the reason why we need to adapt to these changes and start looking at our future. The new policy which the government has rolled out, it tries to pave way for transformational reforms in school and higher education system in our country. In fact, let us have a look at what we have having today. We have very poor infrastructure, especially in the government sector. There are shortage of teachers. The student ratio, teacher ratio is very dismal. There are high number of student dropouts. Even now, many students drop out at various levels, more so at the level of high school. And then later on, the percentage of students joining the colleges are very less. And then those pursuing the higher education is much, much less, to the extent of only 15%. We need to step up this. These are the present challenges that we have. And I'm sure the national education policy, which has been rolled out, will try to address all these things one by one. And this is a very popular slide. Everybody has already seen this. We had this 10+2 model earlier, previous academic structure. But the new pedagogical and curricular structure says that we have a foundational level of 3 plus 2, 5 years, then a preparatory level of 3 years between ages of 8 and 11, a middle level of classes between 6 to 8, that is the age between 11 to 14, and then last 4 years are secondary education, wherein class 9 to 12 are addressed between 14 and 18 years. The vision of NEP is very, very broad. It envisions that an India-centered education system should be brought in. The Indian ethos, the Indian culture should be preserved, should also be depicted during our education system, and which will definitely help us in transforming our nation into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society. This is what is the ultimate goal. India should turn out to be a very knowledge society in the future. And of course, all this is possible only when we think of giving a high quality education. And education, high quality education rests on foundational pillars, certain foundational pillars like access, affordability, accountability, equity, and quality. These are the 5 pillars which are essential to provide high quality education in the country. And what does each of them mean? Universal access, as is usual, that every student in every nook and corner of this country should be accessible to a good and high quality education. And only then this will ensure the continued ascent of our country in the global scenario. And we can also become a leadership in economic growth. Then this access will also ensure social justice and equality among all the student population. Definitely, it will pave way for scientific advancement, and of course, education leads to national integration. Education also leads to our cultural preservation. Similarly, education should be affordable. If education is very costly, many would drop out. So it should be made affordable at least till the level of secondary education. And then later on, it should not be commercialized. It should be available to even the poorer section of the society. And of course, this has been ensured by quality early childhood care education, which has been rolled out by NEP. The increase in the educational investment by government should be the priority. We know that the public expenditure on education is somewhere pegged around 4.43%. We are looking at an increase in the public expenditure to 6% of the GDP. And of course, whatever money is allotted or budget allotted to the educational system, it should be judiciously spent. Only then the targets are achievable. Accountability is another important thing in education policy, where we need to frame certain proper policies guiding the system. Then, of course, proper policies on governance of this whole implementation of national education policy. There should be proper financial discipline also. Only then we can ensure that the proper implementation is being done. And equity and inclusion, where making quality education available to one and all. That is most important, especially to socio-economically disadvantaged group. They should be made brought to the forefront, and education should be made available to these students as well. And once they finish the school, there should be seamless and very smooth transition to entry into colleges and higher education. And there should not be any obstacles there. It should also ensure sustainable reforms, and towards that end, development and supporting higher education institutions, which are institutions of excellence, where a student can join soon after his finishing his college, and thereby he can get into the higher education system. We are also looking at this national education policy. Looks at increasing the admissions in higher education institutions, and from the present 15%, it should at least reach 50%. And of course, all this is possible and very smoothly done when we develop and support technology. Technology should be in the forefront, and that's where all of you can play a major role, and being technocrats. And quality in education, higher education plays an important role in nation building. It also ensures societal well-being. The more educated we are, the more societal human beings will be. Then it also helps in sustaining our livelihood, and of course, economic development also is ensured. And finally, the whole goal of national education policy is to become a knowledge superpower in the globe, and that is what India will be foreseeing in the next coming 15 or 20 years. Policies are made, but when policies are made, If they're not implemented properly, then it's of no use at all. So we need to have some key for effective implementation, and for these are the 5 or 6 pillars where again the implementation of NEP can be ensured. One is autonomy, second is accreditation, third is research activities, fourth is technology, fifth is of course the faculty development, and then student-centric activities. These are very important for effective implementation of NEP. And by autonomy, I mean we should have complete academic autonomy. The syllabi, the curricula, the other various academic implementation should be autonomous, and no interference should be allowed here. And of course, we should also have administrative autonomy. An university or a college or a school will flourish only when they have an administrative autonomy, and interference by whatever other regulatory bodies, too much interference would hinder the progress of a university. And then, of course, financial autonomy should be there. And how we can achieve this can be matter for discussion later. Accreditation is very important. Only when this is monitored properly, then the academic culture and academic atmosphere can be established in the universities. And the point about research activities cannot be overemphasized, because research is what is all about in education. Catalyzing the quality academic research is one of the foremost important act taken up in national education policy, and it helps us in to create a knowledge society. And there should be a robust ecosystem of research. Every research should be encouraged at every level, be it in secondary level or college level, or even at higher education level. Research expansion of research capability is very important. And to note again, the investment on research is only about 0.69% of the GDP, and it has to be increased to at least 3%. Only then the research activities, there will be a boost in the country. More and more research scientists would come forward to do research. And to foster interdisciplinary research, there should be seamless integration between arts, sciences, social sciences, and humanities. But one important silver lining in the horizon is the establishment of NIRF, that is National Institute of Research Funding, with a 20,000 crore budget the government has proposed. And I'm sure this would definitely roll in and bring about a change in the research culture in the country. Technology, that is where all of you people come in. Technology is now, we cannot do any education, we cannot progress without technology at all. We are the buzzwords in the field of technology is the big data, Internet of Things, machine learning, artificial learning, all these. We have to empower our society digitally by using all these things. We should educate our masses, our students, our faculty to be more digitally savvy, and then definitely this would ensure that this bidirectional relationship between technology and education will ensure smooth educational processes and very good outcomes. Those smooth educational processes and very good outcomes. Those technologies should be employed to the maximum, and that would usher in a lot of changes in our country. Again, the two pillars of any educational system is the faculty and the students. Faculty development is also equally important, because the faculty's good quality faculty starts selection process and recruitment process itself. And when we select good and committed teachers, then only there will be a robust education system. And of course, we need to keep training them to assume roles as teachers, researchers, and administrators. So periodic training is important, and very good training centers. So we need to establish training centers as well, maybe regional, maybe zonal, or even state-wise. Incentives and reward system need to be developed for retention of educators. Once we invest in bringing out good teachers, we need to see that they are retained in the system. Otherwise, they should not be left out, or they should not leave. These teachers are the assets for the future shaping of our country. Coming to student-centric activities, the curricular and co-curricular activities needs to be integrated. In fact, there is no word as co-curricular, because even sports and culture, all those which are supposed to be extracurricular or co-curricular, now become a part of the curriculum in the NEP. Then prior information regarding the courses and calendar of events should be always made available to the students. And introduction of smart classes, is very important, where I think students, where future generations are very comfortable with the usage of technology. So smart classes should be employed. Then UG research program should be introduced, and skill-based training and also community-oriented training should be there. This has to be one third face-to-face, one third online, and one third in the community. The teaching should be so designed that the experiential learning should be so designed that all these three facets are covered in education. Of course, all these implementation should be done with the good governance and monitoring. And to this good governance and monitoring is essential to create a learning environment that attracts and retains a high caliber, skilled and technical workforce. It also provides a safe and effective learning environment to support and encourage research, to ensure adequate financial resources, to significantly enhance the profile of technical education, and also to develop strategic partnerships and enhance the reputation. So again, to see that there is good governance and monitoring, five domains of interventions are necessary. First is education and training institutions. What governance and monitoring is required in this thing? Accreditation regulation, governance and planning, financing and sustainability, and monitoring and implementation evaluation. These five are very important. Only then the effective implementation of national education policies are possible. In coming to the first one, education and training institutions, we should build up a technical workforce. Whatever imbalances are there, the student teacher ratio imbalances that should be rectified. So we need to ensure that more and more people, good teachers, get into the field. So technical workforce has to be strengthened. We need to build up this according to the epidemiological and demographic challenges. There are definitely, India is not similar all over the country. We need to develop depending on the demographic challenges also. Then, of course, acquisition of competencies responsive to local needs but connected globally. This is again an important thing. Effective use of information technologies. We are now slowly moving into digital India, and thus information technology can be used to the fullest to see that implementation of NEP occurs. Then, of course, transformative and interdependent professional education system should be ushered in. And which teaching and learning strategies are relevant? We need to debate, and then also capacity to collaborate across professional boundaries should be then interprofessional education and teamwork for better outcomes. And of course, innovative learning and learning strategy where we need to adopt to the technical advances, and also blended learning to be implemented. Coming to accreditation regulation, I already mentioned that accreditation is essential component to improve the performance of a technological system. And of course, if we have poorer technocrats, it will definitely lead to market failures. And of course, the governance should be such that unregulated market would definitely neglect the poorer sections. And that's why for private for profit players are always tending to neglect the minority groups. We should take the minority group also along with us, and that should be the governance should be ensuring that minorities are protected. Regulation can be a barrier to innovation if it is too rigid. So that's what I was mentioning. It should not be too rigid and form an obstacle for growth at all. So it should be flexible as well, and effectiveness needs to be formed. And of course, standardization of curricula and teaching strategies across the country is very important. There should be, since we always talk about one nation, there should be one curriculum and one teaching strategy, which can be adopted throughout the country, and of course with suitable modifications locally. This transparent process of accountability and public reporting mechanism also ensures that the regulations are in place. Coming to governance and planning, radical transformation is required, and it needs strong leaders and strong, solid governance. Only then radical transformation can be brought in. Otherwise, we are all in our own comfort zones. We always resist change, but this has to be brought in with strong governance. Planning is also required to achieve expected results with the committed stakeholders, and of course, political will and support is also very important. And the lack of good governance leads to, all of us know that it leads to ineffectiveness, haphazard and politically motivated decisions, lack of transparency, accountability, and corruption. So these should be avoided by good governance. And financial matters, how much education change will cost, and what are the sources of funding. Usually the sources of funding are donation, fees and taxes, and of course government allocation of funds. And this flow of funds to make up upscaling and sustainable it should be. Only then that the long-term sustenance of the policy will be there. And of course, monitoring, implementation, and evaluation also should be governed by assimilation and analysis of relevant and critical data for decision making. We need to have our figures correct so that we can evolve good policies. And of course, this data collection to be done by professional regulatory bodies such as accreditation agencies or professional councils or employers. And coming to the need of the hour, we need to improve the physical infrastructure across the country. We know that many schools and colleges do not have good infrastructure. This should be first of all addressed to. Then second thing that needs to be done is to improve our digital infrastructure across the country. Now, even the remotest area, there will be availability of this digital infrastructure. Only then a student from the remote areas can also be included in this. And of course, good content and capacity building should be done so that the delivery of good high quality education is very important through this content and capacity building. And technical institutions like yours have a major role to play. And higher education can be to some extent done through blended teaching because the students are mature and of good age. They can understand this. Whereas children below 8 or 10 years, blended teaching may not be successful there. So we need to integrate blended teaching at higher education. And of course, multidisciplinary and holistic learning is the key word. That's because this digital learning, which we can adopt through adaptive learning, online learning, blended learning, or even through mobiles, we can educate the students. And of course, availability of e-books and MOOCs, governmental program can all be employed to ensure digital learning. And as I was mentioning earlier, our education system should be multidisciplinary approach, and that can be done if there is opportunity to learn to a student in all these faculties. Like it could be science, it could be technology, it could be vocational training, or it could be social sciences, languages, or liberal arts, whatever it is. A student should be able to seamlessly go from one faculty to the other, and they should have an opportunity to learn all of those. That is called multidisciplinary learning, and that will definitely strengthen our student base and also make us be recognized globally. And thanks to COVID, it has exposed a lot of gaps in our system. And because of COVID, sitting at home and sitting in our own cozy rooms, we have now employed the technology to the maximum. We have now started online teaching. Technology was utilized like never before. And that's what COVID has given us one positive thing. And of course, we should cash in on that. Teaching should be interdisciplinary. Research should be given prime importance at all levels of education. And of course, use of virtual platforms, simulations, smart classes is the order of the day. And we should also have a good evaluation system so that the outcomes of whatever we have implemented can be assessed properly and suitable changes can be brought in as and when required. And of course, integration of courses with a holistic approach is the need of the hour. And any policy can be always sat in air-conditioned rooms and implemented, but when it comes to the ground level, it should not fail. So good on paper but poor on the ground should not be the policy that we should adopt. We should see that it is implemented even at the grassroots levels in a very systematic manner. And of course, India, which was had its own glory in the past, should reclaim its rightful place. We know that Indians were great thinkers, great mathematicians, great philosophers and scientists, and we need to get back this in another at least 2 or 3 decades. We should be able to become a knowledge superpower across the world. I thank you all for this opportunity for sharing my thoughts on the national education policy, and thank you so much for this opportunity to all the organizers.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful talk. As you have suggested that the new NEP focuses on learning instead of studying and goes ahead of the curriculum to focus on critical thinking. Hopefully, the new NEP will open doors for the establishment of best international institutions, institution campuses in India for youths and tackle the brain drain problem. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I now request our Honorable Treasurer, Shri S. Shumalu sir, to address the gathering.
Honorable
VIPs present here, the principal, the professors of the college, and the other public. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to address you all. I will take just a few minutes to express my views on this subject. And before that, I would like to congratulate the principal and the faculty and others involved in organizing this talk on a very important subject, that is National Education Policy 2020. In fact, I felt this should have been arranged before the government took a decision in almost all the colleges, and then the knowledge about this national education policy should have been disseminated to all the stakeholders. Somehow the decision has been taken by the government already, and the national education policy has come to stay. Now, hitherto human beings were living in an agricultural based society. Now we have moved into a knowledge based society where knowledge is having primary importance, and it is the teachers who teach knowledge, who spread knowledge to the students and to the general public, and therefore it is very important that the teachers and also the students know the importance of this new education policy very well. I don't know why this is called a new education policy, because there were already 3-4 education policies right from 66, when Kothari Commission gave a new direction to the education. And then it was revised in 86 and then modified slightly in 92, and now it has been overhauled. No doubt there are some very important points, very important policies that can be adopted by adopting this education policy. But there are also certain concerns from various quarters regarding the practicability of implementing the various policies outlined in this education policies. Now, I found what is new about it. Earlier, there was 10+2 scheme. Now it has been broken down to 4+3+ something like that. And probably the intention is to give importance, but earlier also importance was being given, that it was not mentioned specifically. That's all the difference. For example, earlier there were Anganwadis, there were LKGs, UKGs, and then primaries, like that. But that is now called 4, by including all those things into one group. Okay, if importance is given specifically, it's very well, because it is stated that by the age of by the age of 6, the brain of children would have developed to the extent of about 85% of its capacity, according to one study. So therefore, primary importance has to be given to the classes before the first standard. And this national education policy is giving importance to that aspect. And it is a welcome decision. Now, one more thing I observed from this is that this policy emphasizes on a multidisciplinary approach for education, imparting education. That means to say art, science, engineering, everything combined. But unfortunately, what has happened is over time, the industries have got their own demand. They keep on telling that the graduates coming out of the college are unsuitable to work in industry. Particularly in the case of engineering, many of the industrialists have been complaining that 70% of the engineers who are coming out of the college are not job worthy. So, attention was focused on giving specialization. Importance was given to specialization. Now we are going back again for a sort of general education. An engineer is supposed to know everything, right from art, science, and culture, everything. Of course, he is supposed to know, but that was not brought in a curriculum. It was not compulsory or mandatory or somewhat official. Unofficially, everyone was supposed to know art, science, culture, everything. So somehow it is that needs to be thought about before implementation. And now, one more important suggestion this policy is making is that the medium of instruction should be in the local or Indian languages. That means to say, should the English not have primary role as a medium of instruction? What will happen to its position? Changing from one language to another language as a medium, that will bring a stress that needs to be addressed. Vocational training has been given a lot of importance. I fully endorse this view because many people who study up to the 12th standard become unemployed because they don't have any skill. They need hands-on experience on some of the works so that they can independently lead a life without depending much on either the government or a job giver. In fact, they should be able to give job to others. So, in that way, vocational training has been given much importance, and I welcome that. Now, coming to the expenditure incurred for education, according to some experts, the expenditure incurred in 2014 was 4.14% of the GDP. And now it has come down to 3.2% of GDP as in 2020. Such being the case, this policy proposes to increase the expenditure on education up to 6% of GDP, that too before 2040. I don't know how far it is feasible. That time alone will have to tell it. And coming to the R&D expenses, India spends less than 0.7% of its GDP as of now, compared to 4.3% in Israel and 2.8% in the US and 2.4% in China, which is having such a large amount of population. And surprisingly, China nowhere can be seen in the entire 62 pages of this new education policy. I think China has been purposely omitted. Maybe they have attacked us, but impartially, we should appreciate the progress they have made. Simply because it's a communist country or simply because they have aggressed into our Will the faculty henceforth be selected without applying reservation? If that is the case, what would happen to the faculty coming from the deprived sections of the society? These are the concerns that need to be addressed. And one more point mentioned in the policy is that the deprived sections of the society, underprivileged students should be given scholarship by private or philanthropic society, philanthropic university. Does it mean to say the government will wash off its hand from giving scholarship to the underprivileged sections of the students? In that case, will the students have to depend on the mercy of these philanthropic societies? This concern needs to be addressed. And overall, I have a feeling that the fee that the students will have to pay after introduction of this national education policy may go up, and that may further result in more dropouts. I don't know how the expenditure on education will be increased up to 6% from the present 3% in about remaining 20 years. Probably at least a portion of it will have to be met by the fees of the students, and naturally the existing fee structure will have to be modified and increased, which will be a burden on the people from the lower state of the society. This needs to be addressed. And now, one more point this national education policy has raised is that primary importance is to be given to the study of Sanskrit. And it cites the examples of the ancient society of India, wherein Sanskrit was the medium of almost all strata of knowledge, be it science, arts, culture, everything. But at that time, only a handful of persons were knowing Sanskrit. And if now the Sanskrit is again minorities, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe people. In fact, if only these people called Shudras read Vedas or Sanskrit, their tongue would have been slit. And if they heard Vedas, the molten lead would have been poured into their ears as per the Manusmriti. This was the situation prevailing even till about 200 years back. Such being the case, if Sanskrit is brought back again and given priority, that means to say only a handful of the people in the society will gain out of that. And the majority, say 90 to 95% of the society, will not benefit out of that. That, I think, needs a detailed discussion before implementation. And one more suggestion that is made in this policy is that allopathic doctors should also know the medicines in Ayush, Ayurveda, Unani, homeopathy, etc. I don't know how practical it is. Of course, if a doctor knows everything, it's well and good. But how practically is it possible? That needs to be examined. Now, an online mode or a distance mode, that degree was not recognized actually. In some cases, is it not contradictory to what is being practiced? How will this dichotomy overcome? That needs to be examined. Now, apart from that, according to one estimate, only 10% of the schools have got computers. And only 4% of the schools have got internet facility. Such being the case, if we requisite, it may not be easy to thrust upon the people this online education and distance mode of education. Even though government has taken a decision to implement the new education policy 2020, I am of the opinion it needs still a wider consultation and wider debate among all the stakeholders before it is actually implemented in practice. With this, I would like to conclude and thank the organizers of this talk for having given me this opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shumalu sir, for all your observations and comments, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I now request our Honorable Chairman, sir, Shri S. Mariswamy, sir, to deliver presidential address.
Honorable Chief Guest, my colleague, Mr. Shumalu, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. The national educational policy is being discussed widely before its implementation. It is not that we did not have education policies before, and they did their own bit to spread education, bring up the standards, etc. However, with all that, if you step a little away, go to a government school or structure is concerned, this has to be seen to be believed. One classroom of some, without any kind of a standard construction, one teacher and many classes within that. I don't know how being told the children of this country have to be taught about patriotism. I don't know why they should be taught about patriotism. Every one of the children and grown-ups, everyone is definitely patriotic. There's no need anyone should doubt about their patriotism. We are asked to, our country was, it produced so many intellectuals, scholars, scientists, etc. And a few names are quoted. But then, what happened later? So what is required is instead of focusing on the past, yes, this was a great country, there was great knowledge, and we were even rich till the Britishers came. There was, compared to many other countries, our standard of living was much higher. It's all true. But then what we are now is more important than what we were sometime in the remote past. Therefore, I would feel that what is required in the policy is not to gloat over a mythical past, but to apply ourselves to construct an egalitarian and a strong society. Ours is a society with many divisions, both horizontal and vertical. What is important in any policy is to take everyone along. The our policy must be one which is based on justice, equity, and inclusion. In the recent past, of course, these aspects of our living have suffered. You may remember what is happening to Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, which is the best university in this country. Are we uh, are we definite that we are trying to give the best education or improving our level possible? Sake of change. They say the proof of the pudding is in eating. There have been policies earlier which were not fully implemented. There were policies, this policy as of which is being touted as the best. We have to see whether it is going to be implemented. What is happening is we used to spend 2% of our GDP and our GDP is not at the highest level in any case, for education. In the past 3-4 years, it has come down rather than going up. Any country worth its salt must must do its best to bring up education, educate its people, and uh, on health, because the people of the country should have good health. And without health and education, I think whatever other riches you may have may not be of much use. But we are talking of uh, a lot of changes. Definitely, we can. I have no objection to changing the system. System must change, and basically, though also. But then, what are we going to? How are we going to achieve it? If we cannot spend, there are countries which are spending 7 to 8% on education. We are spending less than 2%. We have a further challenge of having educational institutions which are in a very bad condition. And it is left to the uh, people, well-meaning people, to do something to transform them. Whatever the government does or doesn't do, what is required is it must not neglect education and health. Unless we put a lot of money, improve the infrastructure, and then hire the necessary uh, teaching staff and give all other emphasis on research and other things, then only we can hope to improve our educational system. As far as spending, the policy doesn't have much to say. And as far as its activities of the policymakers is concerned, it is hope doesn't really go up. One other aspect I would like to stress is one other aspect I would like to stress is about education, educational administration. You know, we are babus in the first place, trained to sit at a table and then administer. We think no end of ourselves uh, with this kind of arrangement. We don't go out, we don't inspire, we don't guide, and we don't do anything positive. But we try to uh, put everybody under our control. If we are going to transform education in all the aspects to make this country one of the a knowledge society, we must also change. We must think deep about the educational administration and change it uh, lock, stock, and barrel. So the policy as such, as I said before, is nothing if it is not implementable. And to implement it, what we need is not mere motivation, not mere a positive attitude, but lot of money has to be spent, and we have to go to the grassroots to uplift, to improve things, the infrastructure, the teaching staff, teaching their abilities and everything. And more than everything, as I said, we being a divided society, everyone should be taken together, taken along, and each one given help according to his deserts, and then each one improving to a higher level. That is what is required. And I do not want to say what I'm looking forward to. But at the same time, to being practical, I would say a policy is not the whole thing. Its implementation is the better thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. As suggested by you, the education policy and education system is a very important medium in meeting the aspirations of the country. Hope NEP will focus on the all-round development of the students. With this, I request our Dean Academic, Dr. Sidraju sir, to deliver vote of thanks. Over to you, Sidraju sir.
Thank you, madam. Respected dignitaries, good morning to one and all. A warm and grateful morning to our most valued guests, management of PPL Trust, faculty, and the I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the distinguished today's guest, who Dr. Sachidananda, Vice Chancellor, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, who spared time with us from their busy schedule to grace this occasion virtually. Sir, on behalf of the entire fraternity of Dr. AIT and the coordinators and organizers, thank you very much, sir, for your valuable speech delivered today. It's most impressive one. I want to thank all our distinguished trustees of PUPL Trust, Sri S. Mariswamy, Chairman of PUPL Trust, Dr. M. Mahadeva, the Secretary of PUPL Trust, Sri S. Sivamallu, the Treasurer of PUPL Trust, Sri P.L. Nanjundaswamy, Senior Most Trustee of PUPL Trust, Sri A.R.K. A. Krishnamurthy, the Trustee, and Dr. B.N. Umesh, the Trustee of PUPL State, for their continuous support and the encouragement. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to our beloved principal, Dr. C. Nanjundaswamy, the deans of various departments, HODs, all the coordinator, staff members for the enormous cooperations in the organizations organizers to organize this event. My special thanks to all the distinguished experts who are agreed to deliver a talk on this event NEP 2020. Event like this cannot be happen overnight. The wheel starts rolling months ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye for detail. The main pillar of this program is none other than the professors Dr. Nandini Prasad and Dr. Bharati, the coordinator of this event, has taken lots of risks to organize this event. Thank you, madam, on behalf of this community. Last but not least, I would thanks to all the participants who joined globally for today's meet and share their views to discuss on National Education Policy 2020. So finally, I want to thank one and all who have contributed a lot to organize this event. On behalf of the entire family of Dr. AIT, once again, I thank you all. Thank you very much. Have a safe and happy day. Over to Nandini.
Thank you, Sidraju sir. We'll start with our first session. The speaker for first session is Professor N.C. Shivprakash sir. So NC Shuprakash sir, Professor NC Shuprakash sir is from Department of Instrumentation, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. His fields of interest are electronics instrumentation, analytical instrumentation, embedded systems and development of a high pressure DTA and its application, conducting polymers and OLEDs. He was born on 4 June 1955. He took his bachelor's and master degrees in 1976 and 1978 from Mysore University. He passed his master examination with first rank and got 5 gold medals. He got his PhD degree in 1982 from Mysore University. Sir is a recipient of Young Scientist Award in 1983 of the Karnataka Association for Advancement of Science. Over the last 42 years of research career, he contributed substantially by publishing and presenting over 170 papers in reputed international and national journals and conferences. Sir has completed many R&D and consultancy funded by DRDO, ISRO, DST, UGC, and CSIR. Sir has delivered many keynote and invited talks at international and national conferences. Sir is a fellow and member of several professional bodies, including the senior membership of IEEE USA, fellow of Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers, fellow of Institution of Engineering and Technology, fellow of Instrumentation Society of India. He is a referee or the reviewer of many international and national scientific journals, member of Joint Review Mission of World Bank TechCube Project, mentor and performance auditor of TechCube funded institution. Currently, Sir serves as chairman or the expert member in committees of MHRD, AICTE, NBA, NAC, and UGC New Delhi. He is a member of selection committees of many NITs and universities. He has been serving as a chairman, member of governing council, Senate academic councils of universities and institutions. Dr. AIT welcomes you, sir. Over to you, Prakash, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Nandini, for your kind introduction. Shall I? Is it my slides are visible?
No, sir, your slides are not visible, sir.
Just help me. How do I? I don't know. Can you just help me in
Yes, sir.
sharing?
Nandini, I think slides are not sharing. Just see that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. While she is doing that, so very, very good morning to all of you, and a very thought-provoking, national symposium that AIT has organized. I think it is very important in today's context. So our, the AIT is led by very eminent trustees. Any building requires only 4 pillars, but to have more strength, I've been enjoying last 2-3 years in their board of governors the 6 pillars, namely Mariswamy, Dr. Mahadev, Dr. Shumallu, Dr. Narayan Nanjun Swami, Dr. Krishnamurthy, and also Dr. Umesh. If you look at their age group, you have as young as 30 plus to 90 plus. We have one elderly person who comes and sits and so meticulous. To NIT, your NEP, I would think 3 important things are important. The 3 things are important. Number 1, you have to be agile. Agile means you have to be very fast, and you have to be innovative. And thirdly, a teamwork. Where can I see this other than Dr. AIT? AIT has got A, I, T. I think I'm sure with the ingredients that they have, they will be able to. So of course, time management is very, very important. I think it got messed up today. I have another event to go. Therefore, I will be with all of you only for next 20 minutes. I learned this from our Justice Santosh Hegde when he came to Indian Institute of Science. One of the function he waited for 1 hour and he committed only 90 minutes. He said, whenever you want to start, you can start, but I leave at 12:30 because I have to get back. So I am also leaving because my 5 senior colleagues are, participating, especially today, Dr. Natarajan, who was the former director of IIT Madras, and also the AICT chairman. He will be daring. I don't want to come in the way. So at 12, please, give me permission. I will be leaving. And secondly, all other colleagues also note to me. Dr. Reddy was the former Vice Chancellor of the JNTU Hyderabad. Dr. P.B. Sharma, we met about 2 weeks ago in one of the webinar. He is current, he was the director, Vice Chancellor of the Rajiv Gandhi Technical University, Bhopal. Now he is in Amity. Dr. D.K. Subramanian was my senior colleague, was the dean at IAC, and Dr. Sitaram. So therefore, the many, also we should, I think, thank our Vice Chancellor of the Rajiv Gandhi, Dr. Sachidanand. He gave a very blow. So can I present now, Dr. Nandini?
Open it.
Most,
We're opening it.
can I
Yes.
go to window or which one is comfortable? Window or full screen?
So full screen, sir. 1 second, sir. At dr-ait.
No, you might not have made me a host. Possibly,
Yes, sir.
without
Yes,
that,
sir.
I will
No,
not
sir.
be
No,
able to
sir.
share.
You're presenting, sir, but your screen is not visible, sir.
I am very far away from AIT. So
Yes, sir. Screen is.
I
Sir,
just don't know.
please share it. 1 second, sir.
Yeah, I'm doing that, but I don't know what it is.
Sir, PPT
Sir,
open ಮಾಡಿ
sir,
sir.
I'm sharing it, sir. I'm sharing now, sir.
I have sent it
I'm sharing
also.
my
And
screen, sir. I'm
yeah,
sharing
please.
my screen, sir. I'm sharing my
Yeah,
screen.
please do that. Let me
Yes,
unshare.
Yes, sir.
So now I have left with
I'm
only
sharing.
16 minutes to go for my
Yes, sir.
talk.
I'm sharing my screen, sir.
I'm so sorry. I will not be, I can talk to all of you on some other day, but today I can talk to you only next 15 minutes.
So is the screen visible, sir?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, you can make it slightly bigger.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm making it.
Okay. So, yeah, you go to
Is
the
it
next
visible,
slide,
sir?
please. Yeah. I'll be wasting another 2-3 minutes asking you to change the slides,
Yes,
which I,
sir. I've changed, sir.
So what I thought is in the next 5 or 10 minutes, let me share what education was and then what it is today and what is going to be the future. All of you know that we are in education 4.0. I won't spend much time and then spend about a minute to say that. And the industry is also moving towards 4.0 and technology is very important. Of course, a teacher cannot be replaced by technology. So, and I thought that I can speak about the highlights of the NEP, salient features, implementation timeline, challenges in implementation, and role of the institution. Let me see whether what I can do in the next 15 minutes. Next slide, please. So, all of you know, of course, go to the next one. COVID is always a create an opportunity for victory in disaster. So about 30-40 years ago, the education, it was only a teacher centric. All that we used to do is lecture, giving lectures after lecture, and we used to give whatever the question that we like and evaluate, and students, all that they were doing is only memorization. But later, internet changed the whole scenario, and then we all got adopted in 90s, internet enabled learning. And later, everybody realized quickly the education should lead to knowledge. So therefore, in education 3.0, we envisage the knowledge producing education. But today, all of us quickly realize knowledge alone will not take us anywhere. So in addition to knowledge, we need skill as well as attitude. So therefore, we have to be innovative in whatever we do. So the way the education has moved, even industry has moved from 1.0. If you go back 18th century, all that we could do is small machines or instruments or devices which could either be energized by water or steam. But later in the industry 2.0, as all of you know, during the first or second World War, railway engines came in, was on the track. But in the third revolution of the industry, thanks to electronics and information technology, autonomous production started. So, but today, all of you quickly realize it is all cyber physical system. Everything that we see physically get connected with the internet. Next slide, please. So, therefore, the importance is the new education policy, many of, Dr. Shumalu, Mariswamy, and also Dr. Sadananda, they have clearly told policy should not remain as a policy. So implementation, as all of you know, the first education policy came in way back in 1966, and in 1986 we could get the second one, and you don't know, it took about 6 years to implement. I don't think we have 6 years now to wait and then implement, and policies which are to be implemented as early as we can. So in this context, I remember Sir C.V. Raman saying about education those days. He was our first director of Indian Institute of Science and later moved to Raman Research Institute. And he used to say about the quality of education, I quote him, students of today are being taught by teachers of yesterday and with the curriculum which is of day before yesterday. It's like a refrigerator. You prepare something for a week and then another device wonderfully is there next to refrigerate is an oven and heat it up and heat. This is not possible in education. Next slide. So therefore, Einstein also, he says teachers are very important. They have to play a major role in the implementation of the new education policy in whatever the way they could. Einstein always used to say, which I quote, I never try to teach my student anything. I only try to create an environment where they can learn. All a teacher have to create that ambient. Always I remember this famous quote, a mediocre teacher tells, a good teacher explains, a perfect teacher demonstrates, a gifted teacher inspires, a modern teacher facilitates. I'm sure to implement a meaningful NEP, all the teachers in the country should belong to the group number 4, a gifted teacher, and they all should become the modern teacher. In the next slide, education should basically lead to 4 important things. One is knowledge, that without saying anything, it goes. The second important thing is know-how. What is the right thing to do? That is very important for any graduates or even teachers, for that matter. Wisdom, to set the priority in the work. Most of us, we never put priority. That's where we fail miserably in all walks of life. And character, to make trustworthy and respectable member of the society. Whatever that little that we can do intellectually, I think we should be doing. So the new education policy, requires a very huge paradigm shift. All of you know today the written exams will slowly go away. It becomes coursework. A tutor based to teach the objectives, which is little broader, will become outcomes. We talk about outcome-based education. Content will become competencies and so on. Next. So therefore, the the paradigm shift. I told you in the beginning that education 4.0 should lead our graduates to get quickly adapted to industry 4.0. Therefore, in essence, the requirement in 2020 would be complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, and so on. And finally, cognitive flexibility. So no more in India, we get a job, we can work 30, 40 years like what we had enjoyed. After 5 years, you may have to change. So you have to get adapt. This is what we call it as a cognitive. You have to learn quickly and then a flexible way you can move in your life in many, many ways. Next one, please. So therefore, the future India has already been told is, we are no more with made in India. The product that we used to make and label and sell it locally is all gone now. It is make in India. What it means to us is new foreign investment will come. Job should be for our people. Profit we should make. Part of the profit only we should part with the investor. And this all requires a digital India. So therefore, digital infrastructure is already been established, and I won't say it is completely established. It's a very challenging job. Governance is happening, e-governance, e-commerce, and so on. Every citizen is, I think, empowered. people don't know how to live without a mobile today. So therefore, I think this future India is great. I'm sure that in years to come, we will be able to. So my talk, quickly, I will try to, next slide. Some of the salient features, not that I can cover, as all of you know, the whole national education policy is, led by our Dr. Kasturangan, is about 484 pages, of which the concise salient features are there after the 29th July 2020 cabinet, which is available in the net of MHR. I don't call MHRD, it is called Ministry of Education. You know that India, there are 35 crores of students are studying right from LKG to PhD. And about 1.1 crores of teachers are teaching. Roughly, our ratio is 1:35, which is not good enough to implement meaningful NEP. There are thousands of universities, 10,000 standalone systems, and 130 centrally funded institutes like IISc, IIM, IITs, NITs, and so on. So some of the salient feature, if I want to name, the first one has already been told by our Dr. Sachidanand, one 10+2 system we had. In fact, I was the first beneficiary of 10+2 in 1970. When I completed my 10th standard, I entered into a 2-year pre-university, first batch. So this will be divided into 4 parts, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, which I will speak about a minute in the next slide. And the new education policy emphasizes on the formative assessment. All of you know there are 3 different types of assessment, namely diagnostic assessment, formative assessment, and summative assessment. Summative is all about you teach some students for over a year and find out in 3 hours, which is not good. So therefore, in the future, emphasis should be on formative, especially for primary education. They don't want education at the end of every year. So what they suggest is you could have examination only at the end of 3rd year, 3rd standard, 5th standard, and 8th standard. Rest of them should be formative or continuing. Of course, another important thing that they envisaged is the up to 5th standard, it should be in the mother tongue and regional language. And I don't find any fault with that. I myself studied up to 12th standard in Canada, and I started speaking my little English only when I joined my bachelor's degree. So I don't think that will be a hurdle. And 4-year degree will have 3 and 4, which I will talk about in a minute. And the very important highlights is multiple exit and multiple entry, which is quite normal in North America. A student, for whatever reason, he wants to leave at the end of 2nd year of BTech and wants to come back. Right now, we don't have any provision, but those things will be there. But it cannot go without any overheads. So therefore, you need to revamp the whole curriculum, which is going to be a toughest task for the next 2 years for educationists. Next slide, please. So at the moment you have so many regulatory bodies, ACT, UGC, pharmacy, medical, and so on. So they are thinking of doing only get rid of all of them, and with a single body, like our election commission conducts election all over the country for education, HECI, Higher Education Council of India. And also one more important thing is no college can sustain with a small number. So therefore the critical mass in future certainly will be around 3,000 students. So otherwise the institution cannot be viable. And the another important thing is they want a single window examination, which we have at least managed in the medical today, NEET exam. But with that, we have so many deemed universities, state university, and so on. A single window will make everyone comfortable. The parents, the teachers, colleges, governments, and so on. So GRE, what it means is gross enrollment ratio. At the moment, as a data which I have in 2018 is about 25%, and they want to achieve in next 15 years 50%. If you take higher education, about 3 crores of students are studying across the country. They want to achieve something like 6 to 7 crores, which is a huge task. They also like to make one single research foundation, national research foundation, like which we have in USA. Funding will not have DSC, DBT, and data, atomic energy, and so on. They want about 20,000 crores is allocated, which they will, they want to give it equity. What they mean is the whole institutions in the country will be divided into 3 parts. One is called multidisciplinary universities, multi-educational research institute. All IIT possibly after 10 years we may not call IIT. They all, they cannot continue to do only engineering and science. So therefore, the about 10,000 crores they are allocating for the tier 1, 10, 2. The second level is like a Vishweshwaraya Technical University, the affiliation system that they want to get rid of. So no university will affiliate any college, which is very, very unique to India. So therefore, they want like a Anna University, VTU, JNTU to be a research universities, and the Dr. AIT should become in the next 5 years' time a teaching university. We cannot continue to be a college. So whatever the college that we have, they should achieve all this quality in next 4 or 5 years and become a degree giving university. So holistic is another thing. Not that engineer students will study all the history, economics, everything. 80-85% of the core will be engineering. What they try to do is another 15%. Some students will be interested in fine arts. Some students will be in music. Some are in let's say philosophy, psychology. So 5-10% of that will be there. People are afraid that how can they learn science, engineering, humanities in 4 years, which is not going to be the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary are the concept. So future is going to be life skills, and employability will depend on the skill that student has. So ministry has already been renamed. Next slide. It is called Ministry of Education, which was the earlier. So half a minute, quickly, I want to say that there are 4 modules that you can see on the right side. First module is about called 5 years foundation stage. The second part is preparatory stage, where play, discovery, activity-based interactive classrooms. And the third part is about 3 years. We call it as a middle stage, where experiential learning in science, mathematics, arts, social studies. So they were even in the primary, they want to introduce this concept. And most important, the 4th stage is called secondary stage, where multidisciplinary study and greater critical thinking, flexibility, all these things would come. So that what we think now that in BTech students should do all this will become a part of their education from the primary. Of course, if you do lateral, in the lateral, it will take about 10 to 12 years, but they have some modules like multitasking, multi ways of doing things. Next slide, please. So I will, the permission of the organizers, I will take 5 minutes, and also I know that Dr. Natarajan must be ready. So give me just 5 minutes so to wind up my talk. The 6 important salient features are self-reliant. One is, already that the government of India is in the mood of Make in India, Skill India, Startup India, and so on. Atma Nirbhar India. So therefore, the skill, there are 39 skills. Next slide. Yes. Sustainable technology. United Nations said there are about 17 sustainable technology, but India has already started 2-3 years ago and created in Government of India level 39 skill councils. So future is going to be skill, skill, skill. We used to say only polytechnics people still have skill. I think even engineering, those concepts need to come quickly. Next, third important salient feature is education is one slide. Next, please. Next one. Education should be economy booster. So as already been mentioned, the government of India is contemplating to spend about 6% of GDP, which is very challenging. So no more muscle power. Education is the one which makes country progressing. So therefore, muscle power will not take us anywhere. Money power definitely will not in future. The knowledge power. India is a knowledge hub. I think that is the one which our new education policy. So future is all about incubation centers. That is reinforcing, boosting the economy through entrepreneurship. Most of the jobs that we are going to create in future is entrepreneurship. Next one. The another important highlight is internationalization. So what it means is, we know that India was known for that. Nalanda University, if you go to Bihar, their foreign student used to come and learn from India. So therefore, it will go and it will come back. India is contemplating about 100 university to come. Not that they come with their syllabus, with our curriculum, with our student, with our environment, ambient. They should teach and then do. Credit transfer, which I will talk in a minute, which is very, very normal in North America. A student in India, if he is there in IIT Madras, he cannot go to IIT Delhi, even in IIT system today. So therefore, the new education policy emphasizes on this credit transfer when they move from place to place. Next one. Can you go quickly? Yeah, the next one is, class digitization. As all of you know, the digital libraries have been created by National Digital Library at IIT Kharagpur. Digital content, digital pedagogy. All of us are now slowly getting used to online teaching, online assessment, online exams, and so on. Scalability is an issue. Next slide. So the last important highlights of this is a layered accreditation. Without accreditation, all of you know that an institution cannot become autonomous, and in next 5-10 years we cannot even think of making that institution degree giving teaching in universities. So therefore the future accreditation is going to be not on the infrastructure that you have a faculty, the technology that you have to for teaching and research, and gross enrollment ratio and research facility. The next one. So therefore the teachers are important. So therefore the teachers have to be trained. We don't have a formal teaching training except for B.Ed, M.Ed for high school teachers and then college teacher, especially technical. They want to embed that like B.Ed what we have into the system. Next one. Therefore, the idea is to create every district. A country like ours has 750 to 800 districts in the country. Each district they want to create a center where teachers will be trained. A good research student may not be a good teacher. But the other way around, if you look at every teacher should become a good researcher. So that is a huge challenge in the new education policy. So having said about these highlights, quickly in 2 minutes, I will just wind up and then say about the important. Next slide, please. Implementation timeline. There's going it. What is planned to implement this new education policy? Don't think that it can be done in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. There, about 20 years it takes. See, for instance, the academic transfer cannot happen in all the 3,000 technical education in the country. They want to possibly try the IITs and NIT maybe this year or next year itself. But multiple entry exit also will be tried out from next year in some centrally funded universities and centrally funded institutions. Next one. You go quickly, please, Dr. Nandini. So comprehensive curriculum, curriculum is very important when you have multiple exit. Right now, in the first year student with little physics, chemistry, mathematics, and whatever the little drawing they learn, there's no skill. So therefore, it is almost impossible to give them certificate or diploma with the exit. So therefore, revamp of the curriculum is going to be a very challenging process. And next one. I'm going to, I've already shared this slide with the organizers. This slide can go to all the participants today so that, they can quickly, vocational education is going to be important, multidisciplinary is going to be important, and GRE, what we are thinking that 50% could, it takes about 15 years to reach, which is a huge task. Yeah, next one, please. You skip some slides. So by end of 2040, highest quality of the education is what is contemplated, and therefore, the next slide I try to explain in a minute what it means a multiple entry, multiple exit. They're going to be a 5-year integrated program. So therefore, if some student, for whatever reason, if they exit at the end of the first year, we have to design our curriculum in such a way that he should get a certificate so that he gets something out of it. And if he exits at 2 years, he will get diploma. If somebody wants to re-enter, those possibilities are also there. And in the 4th year, those who like to go for the post-graduation, a research component will be brought in, and I'm sure that in the 5th year they get 2 degrees, both BTech and MTech. So that is the way it move forward. A midterm drop, like in American system, next slide, will be introduced. By 2040, possibly higher education institutions will all become multidisciplinary education research institute. Yeah. Since my colleagues also will be talking about multidisciplinary, Dr. Sharma, especially on the next third day, I'll skip some of the slides, and and also of course this slide will completely give, it gives you a timeline of the implementation of the NEP 2020. So I stop here. The slides can be given to all of them. I am very sorry that I wanted to speak to you for about 60 minutes, but I ended up speaking only for 20 because of the point. I don't want to come in the way of Professor Natarajan and your talk. And I'm sure that I am there with the part of the Dr. AAT. I will sometime talk to all the faculty colleagues leisurely, so that we should become part of the implementation every institution should do. I think in Karnataka, let us all take Dr. AIT, take a lead in implementing them. So I take this opportunity once again to thank the trustees and also the principal, the dean, HODs, faculty members, staff, some students. I am sure that I am told that they are attending, and more importantly, our two twin coordinator, Dr. Nandini and Dr. Bharati. So thank you all, and sorry for curtailing my talk to 20 minutes. So wish the event a great success and enjoy the next 5, which are going to be, of course, yeah, my, senior most colleague, Professor Natarajan, which, I enjoyed lot of interaction with him, be it in airport or be it in, other institutions in different forums. So over to the MCs, and then I wish the whole symposium for the next day very best. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, it's always we expect another day to
Yeah, I will talk to you all the faculty later, and please, I don't want my senior colleague Professor Natarajan to wait. Go ahead, Dr. Nandini.
Very short and sweet, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Siddharaju. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. AIT would like to thank you for highlighting the improvement. Now, I request my colleague Dr. Bharti to introduce our speaker, Dr. R. Natarajan, former chairman AICT, who is going to speak about NEP highlights and implementation strategies.
Can you see me?
Yes, sir. We can see you.
Can you see me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
can.
First of all, my echo.
Now, Dr. Nandini, you muted. Everybody
Yes,
should mute except Professor Natarajan. Then it will be all right.
all are requested to mute, please, kindly.
Before you start,
I once again request everybody to mute, please. Kindly mute all of you, please. Your video and audio both. Please. My sincere request to all of you. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
before you start, can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me.
Yes, sir. You're audible,
Yeah,
sir. You're audible.
now it's clear. All echo have gone, sir. Please go ahead.
Prakash for his courtesy in acknowledging our friendship and also for giving you a very good talk. And I'll follow up on what he has started. So now you can go ahead with the introduction and then I'll start.
Yes, sir. Dr. Bharti, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, one and all. I'm just introducing Dr. Natarajan sir. R. Natarajan sir served as the director of the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, from 1995 to 2001, and as the chairman of the All India Technical Education, a statutory body of the Government of India from 2001 to 2004. He was the vice president of the Indian National Academy of Engineering during 2002 to 2006 and the chairman of the Research Council of the Central Fuel Research Institute, Dhanbad during 1995 to 2005. He was a member of the India-China Eminent Person Group during 2002 to 2004. He was still recently chairperson of the board of IT Education Standard of Karnataka and the co-chairman of the Engineering Education Forum of the Indian National Academy of Engineering. He is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering, Indian Society for Technical Education, National Academy of Social Sciences, Institution of Engineers, Indian Institute of Plant Engineers, National Foundation of Indian Engineers, Indian Institute of Materials Management and Madras Science Foundation. He has been conferred honorary doctorate degrees by the University of South Australia, Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Andhra Pradesh, Kanpur University, Uttar Pradesh, Nagarjuna University, Andhra Pradesh, Purvanchal University, and United others. He has been a member of Education Board of Fuel, London, Fuel Science and Technology, ASEE, Journal of Engineering Education, International Journal of Engineering Education, Transformation in Engineering Education, Indian Journal of Technical Education, and Staff and Educational Development, International Editor of Journal of the Stream and Fuel Users, Association of India, and the Journal of Plant Engineering. Thank you, sir. Thank you for delivering a lecture in our institute. Thank you, sir.
So let me start.
Over to you, sir. Please, sir, kindly start, sir.
There is a bit of echo.
Yes, sir. We'll all
Where
mute,
is
sir.
it coming from? Where is the echo coming from? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
No, there is an echo.
Everybody have muted, sir.
You can hear me clearly?
Yes, sir, but we are able to hear the echo too, sir.
Where is the echo coming from?
All the participants are muted, sir.
Something is wrong with the sound system. Something is wrong with the sound system. Is it okay?
Still there is echo, sir. We'll also mute now, sir.
Yes, now shift. No. You speak.
Yes, sir.
You please speak.
Yes, sir. So can you hear us, sir?
Even you have an echo.
Sir, mute.
Is there an echo still? Oh my God.
Yes, sir.
It's still there, you have an echo.
Yes, sir. Still there is echo, sir.
How do we remove that? How do
You
remove
please
that?
log out once more. That may help.
Yeah, okay. I'll
You
do
log
that.
out and then log in. I think that may solve.
Yes.
ನಂದಿನಿ,
1 second, I'll log out.
ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಿದ್ದರಾಜು ಇದು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಎಕೋ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ಅದೇ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ ಫೋನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಫೋನ್ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಇದ್ರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್ ಆತರ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅವೇ ಸರ್.
ಓಕೆ ನೋಡಿ ಸರ್ಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು.
ಎಸ್ ಸರ್, ಫೋನ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದು ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡಿ. ನೆಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. Natarajan sir, you are muted yourself. Can you please unmute?
Please unmute ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ.
Natarajan sir, can you please unmute, sir? Call, sir. Call up, sir. Natarajan sir, we kindly request you to unmute. Call ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
the echo is still there. I'll carry on. See, I logged out and I have come back in. I have logged out and have come back in.
No, you are logged in 2 places. I think it is not logged out. We can see you in two, you know.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
One, I think one you have to come out.
So can I remove one, sir?
Yeah, she can do as a host.
Can I do it, sir, with your permission?
Yes, please do that. Please do that.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Can you hear me clearly?
No, sir, there is echo, sir. Sir, can you please speak now, sir?
Yeah, can you hear me properly?
Yes, now it's okay, sir.
It's much better.
Yes, sir, it's much better, sir.
Okay, all right. Okay, Dr. Shivaprakash has given you an introduction. So I will focus on two things. One is the major highlights of NEP 2020, and then the implementation strategies. First of all, this is the official document brought out by the Government of India, the Ministry of Education now, no longer Ministry of HRD. It has a vision. What is the vision of our national education policy? 2019, because that was the draft. It envisions an India-centered education system. The echo still persists, but you can hear properly. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir, please, sir, please, sir.
Okay. It is an India-centered education system. It is not actually valid for any other country because we have looked at our strengths, our weaknesses, and our opportunities and threats. And we have brought out this policy after a great deal of discussion and analysis and the design of the new system. It should contribute directly to transforming our nation sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society. Knowledge superpower no longer is the term to use. It is a knowledge society and economy by providing high quality education to all, both quality as well as quantity, representing all the stakeholders. Now, I would look at some major transformational reforms in the education sector. Mention of this has been made by your chairman as well as by Dr. Shivaprakash, but this is a systematic way of looking at it. We got our independence in 1947, and in 1948, the University Education Commission was set up. It made some important recommendations. Then the Secondary Education Commission in 52, and the famous Kothari Commission in 1964. National policy in education with that name was actually announced in 1968. In 1976, there was a very important constitutional amendment. Till that time, education was in the state list. In 76, it came into the concurrent list, which means that both the state governments as well as the central government have equal responsibility, accountability, privileges, and whatever. The National Policy in Education was announced in 1986, a very important document, and it was modified in 1992 with just a couple of major modifications. Then the TSR Subramaniam Committee report was presented in 2016. TSR was the cabinet secretary, and they did a lot of consultations and then announced this in 2016. Unfortunately, now TSR is no more. The Kasturi Rangan Committee submitted its report in 2019 May, and the cabinet approved it on 29th of July in 2020. That is more or less the sequence of our progress towards the current education policy. So how did they actually manage this process? They put it online and received comments. And it was sent to Gram Panchayats, urban local bodies and so on. And the draft NEP summary was made in 22 languages. Why the 22 languages? Because in the 8th schedule, we have 22 official languages. Then dialogues with MPs, a special meeting of Central Advisory Board on Education, and then the Parliamentary Standing Committee in 2018. The major recommendations, as Dr. Shivaprakash has pointed out, 50% GER by 2035, holistic, multidisciplinary, etc. He has mentioned all these things, so I won't spend too much on this. And higher education institutes to be classified into three groups. One, research intensive institutions, then teaching intensive institutions, and autonomous degree granting colleges. Major reforms again continuing on, graded autonomy. Autonomy is of three kinds, essentially financial autonomy.
Everything and but program this is all part sir
Are you trying to?
Hello.
Are you trying to contact me by phone?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, this is Jairam. Can I interrupt for 1 second, sir?
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, tell me.
I think you have switched on the phone and also the laptop, and that is why it is happening like that.
No.
You want to turn off the phone a little far away from the system, and that will solve the problem, it seems.
Okay, what about now? Actually, I have switched off the phone. How is it now? How is it now? No, my phone is away from me now. Switch off this thing. Off. So what do we do? I have no audio device here. What is happening? Is it better now? Is it better now? Hello?
Yes, sir. Echo is very much reduced now.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. Let's proceed. I have reduced the volume. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll proceed.
Okay, sir.
No echo now.
No echo.
Let me summarize again the major reforms that Dr. Shivaprakash spoke about. 50% GER, etc., etc. He has mentioned all these things. Therefore, I'll proceed to the next one. Yes, graded autonomy they are talking about, phasing out the affiliation system in 15 years. That is one of the most important recommendations. As educationists, we have been suggesting this for a long time, even under TechWhip. Affiliation should be removed and all the institutions must be made autonomous. That was one of the most important preconditions. It was never satisfied throughout the country. Only a few state governments managed to do this. Then a single regulator, etc. I will go through this in some detail as I talk about the new system. Then the National Research Foundation, again, Shivaprakash has spoken about it. Another important thing is National Educational Technology Forum, because now online education and educational technology are becoming important, particularly in the post-COVID scenario. Therefore, this is something that will help the teachers and the students in order to actually transact education. And MHRE to be renamed as Ministry of Education, which has been done. Now, there are some fundamental principles of this policy. They define the purpose of the education system, ultimately connecting it with the constitutional requirement, saying that it should produce the good human beings, etc. Dr. Abdul Kalam, he was speaking about this quite a bit. He would say that the purpose of education is to create good human beings. Even our Prime Minister, as he released the education policy, he spoke about this. And policy aims at producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens, essentially leading to what good citizens are and how they can contribute to national development. I also give a reasonable definition of a good educational system. You ask yourself these questions. You will have a strategic plan in which you have several aspirations, and they should all align with the definition of this good educational system, where every student feels welcomed and cared for, a safe and stimulating learning environment exists, good physical infrastructure, and so on. So this should be the goal of every educational institution according to the NEP. It's a very good suggestion. Also, seamless integration and coordination across institutions and across all stages of education. Now, we are looking at higher education because there are chapters on primary education, secondary education, and so on. Let us look at higher education. Ultimately, the aim is to convert all our institutions into quality universities and colleges. This should be the vision for India's higher education system. Why is higher education important? The other two stages are also important, but higher education is important because it contributes to national economic development and cultural development. And ultimately, we want to create a knowledge economy and a knowledge society. No longer do we talk about a knowledge superpower. They also recognize the current major problems in our higher education system. A fragmented system, less emphasis on the development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes, which is an important part of our two accreditation systems, SNAC and NBA, and a limited teacher and institutional autonomy. I also suggest the following key changes to the current system. We have looked at the problems. Now, how do you remove the problems and what should be the characteristics of the new system? So, this whole system should consist of large, up to a strength of 30,000, that's what they're looking at, multidisciplinary universities and colleges. Dr. Shivaprakash spoke about IITs being converted into multidisciplinary universities or central institutions. If you look at it, both Indian Institute of Science and the other IITs, we have, in addition to engineering departments, we have science departments, we have huge humanities and social sciences disciplines, including economics. Therefore, it is not true to say that IITs are unidisciplinary institutions. And moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy to give to the students enhanced experiences. Of course, the National Research Foundation to coordinate all possible research from the university sector and the departments of science and technology and so on, and governance through effective boards for each institution. Full autonomy to the institutions. You will no longer be affiliated to a university. You will be independent and you will be autonomous. They're talking about a single regulator for higher education. I will explain in a minute. And they talk about light but tight regulations. To my mind, what it means is that the number of regulatory requirements will be lessened, but then whatever is announced will be reinforced strictly. Increase the access, equity, and inclusion, and so on. So, what are the transformations in the regulatory system of higher education? The lacuna that they have pointed out is that too much has been attempted to be regulated with too little effect. There are concentrations of regulatory powers within institutions like UGC and AICTE. So a restructure of the regulatory system in the four functions. What are the four functions? Regulation, accreditation, funding, and academic standard setting. So for each one of them, there will be a vertical. And the overall umbrella system is the Higher Education Commission of India. Now we have to get used to a set of new acronyms. We used to talk about NCHER, National Commission for Higher Education and Research, but now the new nomenclature, the nomenclature changes as the governments change, as you know, that was UPA, Knowledge Commission and so on. This is the new dispensation. So we will have an umbrella organization called the Higher Education Commission of India. It will have four verticals. Let me explain. The first vertical will be the National Higher Education Regulatory Council, NHERC. Excluding the medical and legal education, this will be the single point regulator. It does not mean centralization. It will be an umbrella organization which will have many sub-verticals, if you want to call it that, will look at individual subsystems. And the light but tight appears many times in the document. I tried to mention what it is. And it would be a facilitating system rather than a purely regulatory system. A lot of feedback will be drawn, and this will be used to make mid-course corrections. The second vertical will be a meta-accrediting body. They call it the National Accreditation Council, NAC. It is not NAC, it is not NBA, it is a combination of these and other accreditation agencies into a meta body called the National Accreditation Council. It will have organizations which will be given responsibility for taking care of the accreditation processes, because as you know, even with the NBA, the process has slowed down because there are so many institutions to be accredited, but then the number of agencies at the moment is only one. They had already been thinking about subcontracting this to a large number of credible bodies. So here it is made explicit by stating that it will be a meta-accrediting body. And again, they're talking about institutional development plans. I'm sure you have been at a TechWhip institution. You would define for yourself a 15-year plan where you want to achieve several things, utilizing the resources that you already have and also getting resources from outside, both the government as well as the private sector. The third vertical is the Higher Education Grants Council. It is an expanded version of the University Grant Commission. Your chairman was talking about scholarships and so on. This will be bestowed with the responsibility for disbursing scholarships and fellowships and so on. The fourth vertical will be the General Education Council, which will have the responsibility of framing, for example, expected learning outcomes for higher education programs, which are also called as graduate attributes, like we talk about it in NBA. At the moment, we have a national skills qualifications framework to look at vocational education particularly. Correspondingly, or in parallel, there will be a new national higher education qualification framework, and the two of them will act together in order to allow translation from one set of qualifications to another set, vocational qualifications to higher education qualifications. When we're talking about multiple entry and multiple exit, this thing will come into play. It will enable the transfer from one division to the other. And ultimately, the object is to prepare our learners into well-rounded learners with 21st century skills. I think by now there are many agencies, including the World Economic Forum, they have defined 21st century skills. There's some idea of what these should be in this policy also. Now, what about the professional councils? For example, the Indian Council for Agricultural Research, Veterinary Council of India, National Council for Teacher Education, Council of Architecture, Pharmacy Council of India, etc. They will all be designated as professional standard-setting bodies, and they will define the curricula, for instance, educational experiences, etc., but they will not have any regulatory role, and they will assist in the overall fulfillment of the policy directions given in this policy. Another important, this has been an important issue for a long time, curbing commercialization of education. In India, education is a not-for-profit entity. There are countries where there is education both for not-for-profit as well as for-profit. But in India, education is only is a non-for-profit entity. If there is any excess of income over expenditure, the so-called surpluses, they have to be reinvested in the educational sector, or the Section 8 companies can also come into play. So this is a very important recommendation. It is a continuing recommendation, and this will also be assisted by the accreditation systems. Another important feature that has been recognized for achieving quality and excellence in our higher education, there are two things. One is governance, and the another one is leadership. In the TechPIP program, for example, while in the initial stages we looked at the quality of undergraduate education and so on, ultimately it was realized that it was governance and leadership which were important for achieving excellence and quality. And therefore, if you have been a technical institution, I'm sure you have been, there is a green book we produced, which is called the TechWhip Governance Guide. And that describes clearly what is the purpose of a board of governors, what are the responsibilities, and so on. So that is again given much importance in this policy. And professional education, you are an institute of technology. So what are our special requirements and responsibilities and accountabilities? Very important thing that they are talking about, which is intrinsic to the profession of engineering and technology, that is the ethics and importance of public purpose. Another very important recommendation, which will have, I'm sure, many far-reaching results, is that professional education should not take place in the isolation of one specialty. In another section, they talk about no more technical universities, medical universities, agricultural universities, and so on. They should be embedded in a more general system of education. It will be part of the overall higher education system. This again is reinforced by saying that all education should be holistic and multidisciplinary. And particularly, we have realized now the importance of online and digital education, ensuring the use of technology and making it equitable. What we are having now is not a face-to-face interaction. It is an interaction through the use of digital technology. And this therefore becomes important all the more. Although when the internet came in and smartphones came in, we realized the importance of this technology. So how to take advantage of the new technologies and how to overcome the difficulties caused by, for example, the pandemic. Another important recommendation is that at the moment we have online teaching platforms and tools such as Swayam and Diksha. I'm sure you have come into contact with this. Swayam is an acronym. It turns out to be a Hindi word, but it is an acronym that stands for Study Webs of Active Learning for Young Aspiring Minds. It is in Indian MOOC. MOOC is a massive open online course. You might have been familiar with the Coursera experiment through the use of telecast and broadcast, use of television, radio, and community radio for enabling students to learn. And that experiment was a success. SITE, it was called, Satellite Instructional Television Experiment. And at the moment, there are many other tools which are available, and therefore, this will become available to all parts of the country. At the moment, all parts of the country do not have digital access, but this has to be corrected. Online assessment and examinations, they are talking about a Parak Center, performance, assessment, review, and analysis for holistic development. It is a long term, but it involves a number of things which have to be put into place. Ultimately, the objective is to make our students as 21st century learners and with 21st century skills. Again, blended models of learning, it is not only online education, but it is a combination of person to person, direct contact, person to person contact between teacher and the student, as well as the digital technologies. And standard setting to be undertaken by, as I mentioned, professional societies and so on. That has been a set of policy recommendations. But the fruit of, I think, as your chairman pointed out, the fruits of whatever we have suggested will only happen, will only be reaped, the benefits will be reaped if we implement all these recommendations. That is the tall order indeed. So there are many strategies they have suggested. One is strengthening the existing Central Advisory Board of Education by empowering it with more responsibilities and resources. And financing is another important issue. Affordable and quality education for all, both quality as well as quantity. Then implementation. Specific areas of implementation, I will say a few things about it as I go along. When the Prime Minister released this policy, he made a number of comments. One of them was, this is different from the old education policy. Because the older policy only talked about what to think, I mean, according to his perception, but the present policy, examines how to think and makes enabling recommendations. This is research and technology focused and quality education in addition to the enhancement of the DER. So he talked about APJ Kalam, whose dream was to provide education to people to make quality human beings, quality education for quality human beings. He also talked about the importance of teachers, and the cliche is, according to him, when a teacher learns and teaches, the nation leads. Institutes to lead, the higher education institutes should mentor other less endowed institutions, as had been happening with the older IITs helping the new IITs and the older NITs helping the newer NITs. And classes in mother tongue, this is a very serious issue. As you know, there are states in which we still do not have the 3-language formula, only the 2-language formula. Hindi, for example, in Tamil Nadu and so on. It is not a part of the 3-language formula. Multiple exit options in NEP 2020, Dr. Shivaprakash spoke about it. Now, Dr. Kasturi Rangan is the chairman of the drafting committee. Now, there was a very interesting and smart interview given by Dr. Kasturi Rangan to the Mint magazine. They asked a number of searching questions. What were the main objectives of a revamp of the entire structure after 34 years when the earlier policy was enunciated? So essentially, it is a dynamic system, a dynamic world we are living in, and therefore change is imperative. And therefore, whether it is 34 years or 5 years, many changes have taken place, and therefore we have to take them into consideration. So you have said we need to have an open-minded approach to education. So I want him to explain. See, when you go through the policy, these doubts come to your mind. So this is an opportunity where these smart interviewers, they asked Dr. Kasturi Rangan to explain. And his explanations, we also understand what is the basis for the policy recommendations. So he talks about the fact that education cannot take place only in watertight compartments. He gives an example of a chartered accountant cannot just study finance. He has to study economics. He has to study accounting, so many other things. So there needs to be diversity because there are so many opportunities. The critical characters of NEP is flexibility. It is integrated yet flexible. Changes are possible and need to be done. A major recommendation it is asked is to allow foreign university to set up campuses in India. With the powerful private college or a private institution, private college university lobby allow it to be implemented. So he says it's not about opening investments in India, FDI, foreign investment, by bringing in a foreign university here. We are bringing in the culture of excellence from these institutions into our country. That's basically what it is. So what they will do is to allow the top 100 and world-class Ivy League institutions to come to India and invest here and bring in their best practices, and we can learn from these best practices. The idea is to open our minds to excellence. Number of seats in premier institutions like the IITs and national law schools are too few for an aspirational country like India. So if you increase the seats in these institutions, will it dilute quality? I'm sure your parents also have the same question. So the answer is that quantity must be enhanced along with quality, a very difficult set of conditions to meet. However, that is the general idea. At the moment, we have about 900 universities under the UGC. And what is suggested here is to restructure the entire system, to reconfigure the entire system So they have recommended that the IITs become multidisciplinary, and the goal should be to restructure. I have a comment about this a little later on, where I comment on this particular recommendation. The mother tongue as the local language, this is again a very contentious recommendation. Class 5 or even class 8. There was an editorial yesterday or day before in the Times of India where they're talking about higher education to be dispensed in mother tongue. Are we ready for it? No use comparing ourselves to China and Germany, for example, or France. They have had a long tradition of, not China so much, Germany and France, for instance, they have had a long tradition of learning and teaching in their own language, whether it's literature or technology or whatever. Where are our textbooks in local languages? It is a long journey that we have to undertake. So if you have a 3 language formula, then this is not an issue. English can be used. Otherwise, it will be a problem. Teachers are the pillars of an educational system. What are we doing for teachers? Here are the important recommendations. Teachers will no longer be required to be trained in the Teachers Training Institute, but within every university system, you will have a Department of Education or a School of Education which will provide teacher training and train the teachers through the national professional standards for teachers, high quality teachers. Rote learning is talked about, and as Shiva Prakash pointed out, we'll move away from the end of the year examination, which is a summative evaluation, into formative evaluation, which is throughout the year through quizzes and semester examinations and so on. The examinations will be distributed throughout the year. It will not take place only the evaluation will not be based only on 1 3-hour examinations at the end of the semester. Then the question of research. How do you get our colleges and universities to do world-class research? He makes a very strong statement saying our research in our universities is highly unsatisfactory, so we have to do a lot of things. And one of the ways of doing this is the establishment of the National Research Foundation. Now, this is an important section I want you to concentrate on. A reality check on NEP 2020. There are at least 6 major challenges in implementation. Some policy statements have been made. If you want to implement them, what does it actually mean? That is the question that I am looking at here. Now, if you want to increase the GER from the current 25% or 26% to 50% by 2035, what does it mean? It means that we must open 1 new university every week, and that too for the next 15 years. Every week you have to open 1 new university. The situation is no less daunting in reforms to our school system. If you want to enhance the GER, what you are looking at is over a period of 50 years, you have to set up around 50 schools every week. That's an impossible goal to accomplish. Therefore, we will not achieve 50% GER, it will be less, but we have to move in that direction. I think that is a requirement in the policy. Funding, again, is a very big challenge. At the moment, we have economy being depressed, and we need a lot of money for health, public health. And at the same time, can we afford to give a lot of money to education and higher education? That is a question to be asked. Current focus on healthcare and economic recovery will lower the execution speed. And how do you create a large pool of trained teachers? At the moment, as you know, your students and many students in any other institution also, they no longer look at teaching as a profession, a lifelong profession. It does not have the respectability that it used to have. And also they have many other promising avenues of employment. The IT sector, for instance, or any other sector, which has a large requirement of trained students. And interdisciplinary higher education demands a cultural shift. It is not easy to achieve. In your own institutions, I am sure your departments are more or less watertight. Interdepartmental, interdisciplinary research even is very difficult to achieve. So this is a cultural shift that we require. So those are 6 major challenges. Now I'll spend a couple of minutes on this gentleman, Dr. Manjul Bhargava. He is one of the architects of the plan. He brought into our policy some important characteristics of the US system. He is a Fields Medal winner, which is the equivalent, Fields Medal is the equivalent of Nobel Prize in mathematics. So he's a brilliant person. He is working at the Princeton University. He took leave for 1 year to work on NEP 2020. He is the one who brought in the focus for multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary education requirements. And he talks about holistic education, for example, combining physics and music, for instance, which is possible in the US, and breaking the silos in education. I'm not in complete agreement with all that he says, but still, he has brought in some innovative ideas into the policy. And he talks about the 21st century subjects: artificial intelligence, design thinking, holistic health, organic living, environmental education, and global citizenship education at relevant stages. These are new and innovative ideas which he has been able to propose essentially because he comes from the US system as of now. Let me make a few comments of mine. What is the requirement of national education policy? It reviews the past. We have had several education policies earlier, takes a look at all the recommendations they have made, the context in which they have been made, and then they look at our present situation and the future requirements. Therefore, this is a combination of an analysis of all these important things. And the policy can be used to introduce new features and reforms. For example, the 1986 policy served to combine in our professional education, technical and management education for the first time. It created AICTE in 1987 and the accreditation system for quality assurance, NAC and MBA in 1994. Without it, without the policy, these things might not have been achieved. The intent of NEP is to revamp the higher education, etc. And the classification of institutions into 3 types, combining research and teaching in different proportions. 1, with primary focus on research. 2, both research and teaching. And 3rd, focusing on teaching. The many colleges, autonomous colleges that we have, and giving them degree granting status. It requires many changes in the acts and so on. They make a strong case for liberal studies, the new policy, for instance, to the extent of about 25%. And now you have many famous liberal arts institutions like the Ashoka University and several other NIIT University and so on. So what they are suggesting is that in our engineering program, we must have general education, liberal education to the extent of about 25%. I point out that we already have 15% liberal studies in the form of engineering ethics, environmental science and technology, civics, the constitution, sustainability, and so on. Now, it is more important in my mind to introduce technological studies in general education because we are living in a world of technology, whether it is electronics, automobile engineering, or whatever. So it is as important to introduce technology subjects in general education as vice versa, which is already being done. And I'll look at the IIT systems in a minute. And implementation. Your chairman pointed out that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. But implementation is not such an easy thing. It sometimes requires us to handle trade-offs, such as between quality and excellence, the quantity and scaling up, merit and equity, and things like that. It demands a lot of wisdom and pragmatism. We have set up a lot of new IITs and new NITs. In the initial period, the quality did suffer because they did not have quality faculty members and they did not have the quality infrastructure and so on. But one of the reasons which has, because I've been a member of a review committee for new IITs, And I'm extremely impressed by the fact that they have progressed in such an accelerated manner. How they did it was they had a mentor institution to guide them through the process of institutional development. Old IITs guiding and mentoring new IITs and things like that. Similarly, in NITs. Therefore, if all of these have to be implemented, I believe there must be clear guidance and mentors to guide the progress of the institution. Now, GDP to be increased from the current 3% or 2% or whatever it is to 6%, I believe it is an impossible objective. Education is a highly resource intensive sector. We have alternative demands on the money that is available with the government, and therefore that is going to be definitely an issue. Other challenge is the severe faculty crunch. Young people are not interested in taking up the teaching profession. We have to enhance the respectability of the teaching profession. Governance is an extremely important issue, and I talked about TechWhip, a good governance guide, which will offer, I believe, good guidance for a good policy document which can help us to do the job better. And the symbiotic and synergistic relationship between the university sector and the industry sector. We have to seek the cooperation and even the funding from the industry sector to achieve the goals. The transition, how do you go from the old to the new? It cannot be a drastic process. It cannot be a disruptive process. We should look at continuity with change. And every institution should look at not only the national aspirations, but also the regional interests. Different regions have different requirements. You must look at the future and the futuristic student. What are his characteristics? What prior learning does he come to our institution with? And what are his requirements? All these have to be taken into consideration. Last 3 points I want to make. If you look at, for example, successful people like Steve Jobs, I'm sure you know all these names, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, the Virgin Atlantic Airlines and many other products, Larry Ellison and Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook man. They are all university dropouts. They did not find the university to be an exciting place to learn, to achieve success. Learning by doing, they gave more prominence than learning in a university environment. In addition, universities like Stanford and MIT and Coursera and others, they offer world-class educational content. And you can also get certificates from them, provided you write their examinations under proctored conditions and succeed. So many industries and businesses look at these certificates as more valuable than university degrees. Therefore, the question I'm asking is, are traditional universities losing their relevance? Are you and I losing our relevance? A new culture of learning is required. A report was prepared some time ago. I'll only look at a couple of these. Traditionally, we are looking at knowledge transfer, but here, constructing knowledge using innovative means of teaching and learning. Can do attitude to can do attitude. Learn in class to learn 24/7 because your resources are available. Internet is available, digital learning opportunities are available. So a completely new paradigm, a paradigm shift is required. And I suggest that the new millennium paradigm for engineering education should incorporate the integration of several features which existed as separated entities till now. I've given a number of examples. Initial education in Ambedkar Institute of Technology to give them a bachelor's degree, but then when they have gone to industry and business, bring them back when we recognize the requirement of new 20th, 21st century or even 22nd century requirements, and bring them and give them continuous education or continuing education or lifelong education. An institutional component and an industry component. A number of individual characteristics I have listed. You have to combine them, integrate them, and it's only then that we'll achieve results and success. And I suggest that the new millennium engineering education is a multidisciplinary, which has been talked about enough. Multi-mode, meaning online plus classroom, blended learning. Multimedia, several media available. Multiple partner, university, industry, business, government, etc. And it's such an enterprise. And we have to look at the requirements of the different partners, what resources they can bring in, and blend them in a wise and pragmatic fashion. Ultimately, this is an important aspect that we should look at. Why do we need engineering education? Because it is required for national development. Not only that, in this globalized world, global competitiveness. Our products will be saleable only if our products are better than the products of other countries, for example, including education. Therefore, we require a major rethink in the flattening world. Flattening meaning, as Tom Friedman, he wrote his book, The World is Flat, making a level playing field for all kinds of activities. Now, here is a quotation which reveals the seriousness and the significance and the dire requirements of our efforts in converting our students into graduates. That's what we are doing. We bring in as students, first year students, and through 4 years, we convert them to graduates who are employable by different kinds of employers, industry, business, including education. So we are currently preparing students through our 4 years of study material and pedagogy and so on. We are preparing them for jobs. These jobs don't yet exist. Did we imagine that artificial intelligence and machine learning and blockchain would be requirements 5, 6 years ago? Did we even know about these things? So we are preparing them for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't yet been invented. Every day there are innovations, even in our own country, for example, even though the level of innovation, the advancement of innovation is rather limited, but even then, we are creating technologies that haven't yet been invented. For example, autonomous cars. In order to solve problems, we don't even know our problems yet. The climate change, for instance, was recognized to be a problem only about 20 years ago. Before that, nobody talked about it. The requirement of renewable technologies was only talked about after pollution became such a problem. Therefore, jobs which don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't yet been invented in order to solve problems we haven't even recognized as problems. On the last slide. So let's look at the future, the road ahead. The destination where we want to go is clear, reasonably clear. We want to become globally competitive and academically reputed. We want to enter the top 100 universities ranking or top 500 universities ranking. Roadmap, we have several national policies. We have listed the progress of the national policy landscape. We have to roadmap, we have several national policies. We have listed the progress of the national policy landscape. We have to benchmark with WCUs or world-class universities. You remember that every year, the rankings are announced, the Times Higher Education rankings, the Shanghai rankings, and the QS, Quacquarelli-Simons rankings. So we can learn from institutions we are doing better than we are.